Hey everyone, looks like we are live. Happy Wednesday, all the way from northeastern New Jersey, about 5 miles from New York City. I hope everyone is having a good Saturday. It's an honor to hang out with everybody today. So let's see who we have. We're going to be working on the pastel portrait, developing some of the forms, making things turn more, paying attention to anatomy as always. So let's see who we have here today. Mr. Steve Lang, how are you? All the way from the UK. Good to see you, sir. We also have John Payne in the house from upstate New York. It's great to see you. We have Wendy. Hey, Wendy, all the way from the Dallas, Texas area. Good to see you. We have Colette. Colette, all the way from Wisconsin. So good to see you. And let's see, anyone else? That's it so far, and that's plenty, right? Got great people here. What I'm going to do is I am going to change. Hey, Rick, how's it going? Good to see you. Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is things are going to go dark for a second. I'm going to change to the 50mm lens. So let me do this. I love my 50mm lens. So we're going to go with the Yongnuo 50mm lens. That's an interesting lens. It's an off-market brand for the Canon, but it's really good video lens, as you will shortly see. And it's going to be massively out of focus. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty out of focus. That's as out of focus it gets, right? So let me move my table over. So we have to be further away for this to work. So let's see here. Actually, you know, we're going to be working on her dress today. So let me lower the aperture, the shutter speed, or frames per second when it comes to video. And then we'll manually focus. There we go. And I could probably go ahead and lower the aperture. It doesn't need to be that high up, so let's bring it up to like maybe 5. Okay. And we'll come right about here. And then maybe we can change the shutter speed a little bit lower, get some good clarity. How does that look, guys? Okay? Fantastic. So Rick, good to see you all the way from Canada. That is fantastic. And I think someone said hello, Brad. Brad, there you are. How are you, sir? Good to see you all the way from Manitoba. So that's good. So glad you're here, my friend. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good, let me see if I can just even it out a wee bit more. Let's see. Just center this a bit. There we go. That's not too bad. So what I like to do is actually go ahead and zoom in, and this way I can definitely get it focused, and then when I zoom out I know it's going to be perfectly focused. Great. Now we have perfect focus for this focal length, and let's get ready to rumble, guys. Alright, so getting down to business here, I can probably put a little more life into here. So remember, I want to scumble, right? So if I scumble, I'm doing more of a glaze. And if I'm using the, and if I'm scumbling, I'm going to use a foam core that I peel back. If I am going to use the foam, that's more like a paintbrush. So I want to glaze over some color, and it's more of a salmon-y color. So I'm going to take this color right here, I'm going to put some of it down, and then I'm going to take like a medium kind of fleshy color, right? So let me see if I can locate that. I do like this color. It's by Rembrandt. I don't know what the label is. I mean, I don't know what color. I think it's like a light burnt sienna, believe it or not. And I'm going to mix those two colors together, and I'm going to get this like really wonderful salmony color. And then what I'm going to do is, I want you to see what I'm doing. So we'll raise this up. There we go. And again, let's darken this up a bit. There we go. So I just want to put a little more life into this forehead region. And this, of course, is the frontal bone. And on top of that is the frontalis muscle. And there's two frontalis muscles here. So it's not just bone, right? There's muscle and flesh and blood. So just go ahead and do that a light color without having any concern for the fleshy muscle. That's a disservice. So let's go ahead and do that here as well. Just add some of that little bit of pink color with that fleshy color together. And I'm just glazing over what I have, which is really good. Okay, so I do like the fact that I did just put a little more life into her forehead. And then right here, in between the supraorbital eminence here and there, remember what I said about the supraorbital eminence, that it is the bony protuberance above the eye sockets, right? And so that comes out. So that gives the kind of shape above the eye of the skull. And of course, if you're painting her portrait, that's going to be very prevalent. It's going to be there. So if you know it's there, you can paint it. If you don't know it's there, you're going to have a harder time seeing it. Not that you can't see it, you'll just have a more difficult time seeing it. Hey, Mr. Mike Deloach, how you doing? Great to see you, my friend. And let's see who else did I miss here. Oh, great. So very cool. So glad you're here, Mr. Mike. Okay, right here we're going to work on the nasal eminence. And you see how these pathways of light and shadow are caused because of your knowledge of what makes her her, right? It's not her makeup, it's not her hair, it's her bone structure, it's the muscles and the proportions, not her hair, not her makeup. So as I put this in, I'm just going to kind of assimilate this, and I'm going to come back in with the lighter color, right? But I have to create this sort of integrated system between those muscles and that bony structure, which is the supraorbital eminence. There we go. Now I want to put a little more life in these lights, right? So how do I do it? I take that same flesh color I made, remember, with the red. And remember the other color we used? The flesh. And once again, we're going to mix them up. But this time, right next to it, we're going to put white. And much lighter value of that kind of fleshy color we just gave her. But now it's going to be more showing those protuberances, those supraorbital eminences getting more light. So it is subtle, I'll give you that, but it is there. So if I left it like super white, it would not look right. Now this, of course, is the temporal ridge. So I'm starting to feel very happy about getting her forehead to not be a metal plate. I'm feeling good about that. And then here, it's not as light as what's going on here, so I definitely have to portray that. So I'm going to glaze over this ever so lightly. And just bring that. And then I have this side, which I have this dark value. And I'm just going to assimilate this. Soften this edge. Just like so. And there you go. We're actually getting things to look a lot better. And let's see what happened here. So Wendy, good to see you tonight. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, Mike says, Tim, I love the hair. Turned out you really hit the striation effect of the strands. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And noted, John, no issues so far, just having a bit stronger reaction to the vax. Oh, Mike Deloche says, according to health expert, this year's flu is supposed to be pretty nasty. He got the flu shot. Okay. Flu shots don't usually bother me. I've been lethargic all day. Wow, that's rough. So my thoughts are with you. I hope you don't have any reactions other than that, because that really stinks. You know, anyone who knows me knows what kind of reaction I had to the COVID shot. That was not fun. Literally, I felt like I had COVID-19. Okay, so now I'm just going to work on some of the darks in her eye socket here. This is a deep color. I'm going to make sure I go dark enough. And this is where, you know, things really start ramping up. So since I do have this dark rust color, I might as well just take advantage and use as much of it as I can. If I see other places that have that rust color, and just go to town. What beverages have everyone drinking today? Yesterday I splurged and had lots of ginger ale, but I'm back to water. A little darker here, so I have to get a little more forceful with this dark. And let me go ahead and mix this up again. So I'm going to come in with this really dark wine color here. And then I want to have a really rich kind of rust color like this. This is like an iron oxide, see that? I'm going to mix that. And then maybe just a little bit of black. I'm not against using black. Black is good. And okay, so you see I have a triangle, and so now I'm just going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut this so I have a brand new corner. See that? Now I have a brand new corner. And now I'm going to mix those three until I get pretty much where I feel might be good. So let's see. Right along here. Yeah, so you see how we're getting that rich kind of rusty color right along here. Right there in the corner. And then here's a great opportunity for us to go ahead and hit that zygomatic bone right over here. But first, I think I want to kind of work on this. So I think this might be a job for a glazing element. So we're going to use a foam core. So right here, we have this zygomatic bone coming down. Just like so. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to look less for the exact color and more for getting the exact shape. So what's interesting here is that I'm seeing that I'm bringing over this shadow at the corner of the mouth too high. So I'm going to just first, I'm going to keep that in back of my mind. Right? I'm going to bring this shape up. Kind of glaze this up like so. I think that's important. It already makes it look a lot more like her as far as form goes. So once I have that, now I'm going to come in with the lighter color, or I could erase it with the kneaded eraser, and that's a decision I'm going to make on the fly. And I think at first I might just use my kneaded eraser and maybe just pick off some of this dark over here. So you see how I can use a kneaded eraser to kind of pull up some of this shadow here. Now I know people who have been watching my live streams, those who are new, know that rather than go ahead and go over that color and have it ultimately mix with the colors on the surface, it's much better to get rid of what's there that's incorrect and then go back and fix it. Go back and put the correct value, right? So same thing here. Maybe I can create some of this kind of in and out edge here. The coastline, right? So you would never, if you were working in Airbrush, you would never want to work with a freehand shield, because that would create a inorganic shape when you're really wanting to create an organic shape. So now you can see I'm bringing this down so it comes down. See how that kind of makes her look more feminine even, and I love that. Love it, love it. So now I'm going to come in with that fleshy color that I was using earlier, remember, for up here. So I can see that over here matching over here. So now I can kind of glaze that beautiful fleshy salmon color like so. Over here we have this really rich light fleshy color, what I'm going to do, that's a job for foam, not for blending, right? Because we want to paint that on there. So I'm going to use a fresh triangle, voila, and we're going to paint that as if we were using a number 3 filbert brush. Never more than three strokes, and then when you're doing the foam, three strokes and then move on, right? 3 strokes and move on. Plenty of time to blend. Put some life in that side shadow there. And let's see, if you start getting tingling in your legs, oh, okay, we're talking about that. Let's see. Steve Lang says, she's looking amazing, mate. Love the colors. Thank you, sir. Little by little, you know, I'm trying not to make, you know, big decisions just yet, right? Just trying to feel the colors and just go with it and just make sure I take my time. And I appreciate that. So I'm going to come back in with this kind of beautiful rust color. And I see that right here in the alar cartilage of her nose. Remember, the nose is broken up into 3 shapes. You have up here, which is the nasal bone. In between the nasal bone and the alar cartilage is the side cartilage. And then usually where the ball of the nose is, and then you have these little wings here. And that is called the alar cartilage. So much easier to paint it when you're expecting it. So much easier to see it when you're looking for it. So that's why, you know, taking my course is really important, because I feel it's the only course out there that really concentrates on portrait painting in an academic approach. And I think that goes a long way with learning. So you see how I kind of bring in that. So now that I'm here and I have this rich rusty color, let's see where else I can use it. Right here on the lower eyelid. Where else? Where else? And, oh, okay. Perhaps right here I could glaze some of this color on the ear. Because the ear is in shadow, but we have detail, right? So let's make sure that we express that. And then little by little we'll develop her ear. But right now we're just pushing back all of the lights, and then when we come in with the darks, things will really ramp up. So now that we have that color and we have this peachy color here, let's go back to that peachy color. So now we have these 2 colors, right? We have this rusty color, and I can kind of interwove it in like this. Then I can take this peachy color, and then I could kind of go back and forth, doing my 1 second rule. Like so, and keep going back and forth. Okay, so we did work down here, and let's do the same thing. And what color is that? That's more of a yellowish color, am I right? So we're going to have a little more yellow in this corner of the mouth there. use some yellow ochre. Going to add some of the yellow ochre to that flesh mix that we just had. Beautiful yellow ochre by Art Spectrum. Really love that yellow ochre. That's my go-to when I'm working in flesh. So you see now I have this kind of yellow ochre-ish color. And I could just, because it's not pink like the other area, it's more yellow. And now I have that yellow color. Where can I find it elsewhere, right? That's our thing, you know. Once we have that color, we have to figure out where else can we apply it. So now I'm kind of searching around the whole portrait. Now I'm looking for that yellow. And I do see it right here, very much so, right there. And right over here, right? Okay, so here is the zygomatic bone, right? The zygomatic bone comes over here, and then you have the jaw, right, which is called the masseter. But right here where the zygomatic bone comes out and the masseter is further in, so they're not parallel. And the fact that the zygomatic comes further out than the masseter, that's when you see this kind of dark here. So there's a reason why you see that dark in the cheekbone. And we're going to paint that in because it's a really rich dark. So we're going to use a foam core, I believe. So let's see how that goes. I have a funny philosophy, kind of a different philosophy on color. I believe that color is 50% scientific and 50% impressionistic, right? You have to feel the color. And that I really feel is really important when I use color, is that I am scientific to an extent, but also realize that color is something that only I see as an individual, only you see as an individual. So stay away from any formulas. You really want to stay away from formulas. So you see how I'm kind of doing that gap between the zygomatic bone and the masseter, right over here. And I'm always looking to see, does this dark extend past the ear, or does it stop before the top of the ear? And here it stops before the top of the ear. So I'm making that assessment. So I have the black, but I think black is a little too rich. So I'm going to add this really dark wine color to it. And that's going to help give it some life. So where else can I work that kind of dark color? And definitely down here as it goes along the edge of the masseter or the bottom jaw. And I'm going to work these edges together. And then right on here on the other side of the masseter or the bottom jaw is a real pronounced dark. See that? Almost like using a filbert brush in oils. Let's see if I'm missing any comments. Oh, thank you. John says, loves how I explain the thought process. I appreciate it. Amazing work. Thank you. And so thank you guys. I appreciate that very much. And so let's continue to kind of pull that down. Oh, let me lower it. I know I'm kind of ignoring the shirt a little bit. We got to work on that. But first I just wanted to establish this beautiful dark coming down here. Oh, that's too dark. So definitely you want to add more of this red. Maybe a little bit of that beautiful rust color, which is iron oxide. If any of you has, cleaned out the water from your compressor, that's the color it is. It's called a compressor water. New from Createx, we got compressor water, transparent or golden, not to pick on Createx. I'll pick on all the paint companies. Nice, see how I'm not pulling any punches with this dark. No pulling of the punches. And you can see, so last night in my group class during my mentorship, program, which was fantastic, we were talking about profile. And the profile is not just in the face, but you see this profile here? And we definitely learned that this profile actually is the combination of two major muscles. And it's not just the neck, right? So right here, this top part is your sternocleidomastoid, and then everything else is one muscle, and that's your trapezius muscle. Both of these muscles originate in back of the head, right? And that's why you're seeing this. Now the sternocleidomastoid comes from behind the ear and ends up on the clavicle and the sternum. However, the trapezius comes from in back of the head, goes all the way down, goes to the shoulder with the scapula, and then goes all the way down to the base of the back. And it's two muscles, one right and one left. And you're going to see most of the time, actually all the time, if you're going to have a profile of the back, it's always one of those two muscles or both of those muscles combined. So knowing anatomy is everything. I'd rather really know what I'm painting. Now I'm going too dark, right? And you can say, Tim, why are you going too dark? Well, I can always lighten it up. But I want to create this like beautiful sense of contrast here. And also makes her neck more slim, right? And more feminine. We are painting a woman, so we want to make sure that we always keep that in mind. It'll help you a lot when you got a portrait commission and you're painting a woman. There we go. So you see right there, instead of just blend, 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 I'm like, Tim made a mistake. Your friend and mine need an eraser. Rather than just try and simulate that color, let's go ahead and make sure that we don't have that color contaminate the other color. So I'm just going to use my foam core. Just clean that up a little bit. Okay, so we do have a little essence of, little bit of her sternocleidomastoid right over here. Just a little bit. Hello, right there. Little indication of the sternocleidomastoid. And then this is coming down. This lightens up. And let's just take our packing peanut. Oh, that packing peanut had a lighter color on it. That sucked. Okay. There we go. All right. So right there we have some work to do. So let's go ahead and we'll get this kind of orangey color. And we'll kind of bring this down. Much lighter value here. There we go. And we'll clean that up a little bit later. Maybe right here I can do a little cleanup on this edge. Okay, we have a nice little dark mid-tone coming out of here. Notice how I'm letting the paint kind of play on the surface. And now immediately come back in with that light. And always make sure that you cut a new edge. See how I'm creating that coastline? Of course, on my reference on my computer, I have everything blown up pretty significantly so I can see things. And now I'll come in with that even lighter color. So you see, sometimes blending is not as good as working those values side by side. And this is much more rounded as it comes up here. See, just like one little mistake and it could change everything, so we have to be careful. One little thing that's too high or too low will change the shape of her mental protuberance and mental fat, and therefore our cheek will be either more round or less round. Her chin. Be patient with yourself, keep it going, keep going back and forth, but make it look like it was done all at one moment. You can go back over this 100 times, but just make it look like you did it just in one breath. There we go. Right here it's really rough, right? So let's first come in with this orangey color. Remember, lighter pressure means a more transparent color. Then we come in with this kind of yellowy color here. Make this nice and round. See how we work that out? And then as you work, you'll see there's a lot of things that kind of reveal themselves. Like in this case, you can see that this edge kind of reveals itself a little more. Okay, so that's good. And then above her lip here, we have this kind of orangey color going on here. You can have a darker color than you want, but if you apply it lightly, then you'll get the exact value you want. So it has to do with how much pressure you put on to actually get the value that you're looking for. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. And as you can see, it's still very loosely done, but I think I want to fix the reflected light, you know? Oh no, so we have some spam. That's not cool. That stinks. Okay, thanks guys for reporting it. I appreciate that. And let's see if I can address this as well. So I go here. There we go. I removed it. Thank you guys for alerting me. I appreciate that. So right up here, it's super harsh, right? Just won't do. If I see something like that, like really strong, then I know I have to address that really quickly. So let's go ahead and see if I can just glaze this. There, that looks much better. Just soften that up. So right down here, this is like super harsh, right? It's super harsh over here. What I'm going to do is we'll just kind of glaze some dark onto this. So I'm going to take a fresh triangle, and what I'm going to do is just put dark value down, kind of glaze that down. But still looking, you know, always looking at what we're seeing, always really intensely trying to get full comprehension of what's happening. first I just want to bring this in line, and it's very thin compared to what I had, right? So you see how I'm kind of bringing that in line now. And now, you know, softening that up, it looks much better. Kind of blending that. So now I can come back with that really deep, rich, dark oxide color. Okay. So see how it kind of rubbed off the pastel? That means I can no longer over there go in with the foam core. Now it's time for foam, because pastel is pretty thick on the surface. So right now down here, I'm just getting these large shapes down where it's darker. And then you're always going to have to remix your colors because there's only so much you can get from the palette. So again, I have the black, I have the rust, and then I have this sort of dark wine color. Red iron oxide. And again, remember, as I said, when we get to this advanced point, when we're kind of 60% done with the painting as we are here, you can definitely see that you cannot use the foam core. The time for in this area, not throughout the whole painting, but in this area, the time for the glazing part is pretty much over. Now you have to actually paint. Just take your time and enjoy the process. So right here you see you have that deep wine color, the red iron oxide, the black, and we're kind of getting this shape right down right here, and then we're going to come in with more of that same mixture, but more of the iron oxide, and I'll show you what I mean. Let's see how it goes. And you can see it's the same colors that we're using up on the zygomatic arch and everything. This side right here of the sternocleidomastoid, you can't see it as prevalent here, but it is there. And notice that I'm coming in with this mid-tone, and I don't have a concern right now of the lights because I'm going to paint them in. And I'm kind of going to create a mid-tone sandwich between the dark and this mid-tone coming over here. Okay, so now we have that established. Let's come and see if we can work on the beautiful light skin tones. But here, remember that kind of fleshy color that we had for the forehead? We're going to do those colors, but just a little bit darker. So let's revisit those colors, right? So we had this salmon color, right? We put that in. And then we had this really cool fleshy color. But there's a little more earthy, a little more ruggedness to that. And what color I see when you have more of an earthy color, you always want to go with your yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is a very important color. Even if you're doing airbrush, yellow ochre is definitely important. Some artists will use, instead of yellow ochre, they'll use like a raw sienna. That works too, but it's just a little less earthy. So I definitely recommend yellow ochre as opposed to raw sienna. But that's just my own approach. So first, this is actually kind of thin here with the paint, so I'm going to glaze first a little bit, right? So let's glaze this a little bit. See how it's same as this in value of the forehead there, but it's just a little more earthy. So you see now I'm going to be making this kind of mid-tone sandwich. And come back and forth here. Now right here it's much lighter because it's facing the light and it's on the light side. But as we get here, there's more of that iron oxide color, but I'll also add this color right here, which is a lighter iron oxide. Let's see if we could make this happen. Definitely, maybe just a little bit lighter than before. And let's get a brand new triangle here, foam. See now, we do have a lighter flesh color, but it's more in these earth tones here. And again, my goal is to make this kind of mid-tone sandwich. Bring this dark down. We'll come back in with that beautiful light that we had. Kind of ruddy light here. Just a little bit lighter right there. Okay, so we've been ignoring, we definitely have been ignoring her shirt, right? I know I have. I don't know about you guys, but I've been ignoring it. Let's see if I missed anything here. Okay, cool. So the spammer has vamoosed, so that's good. So very happy about that. Let me get a swig of water here. There's plenty of time for blending, so I'm not worried. I'm not even close to that point. But let's look at her dress here, right? It's this beautiful dark blue green, right? So I'm just gonna pick up some random colors. Here's this really deep blue by Rembrandt. Just gonna put that down here. And then your favorite color in mine, black. And let's put some green in there. And just feel it, right? I want you to feel the colors. I don't want you to be too scientific with the colors. I want you to feel them more. You know, definitely, you know, take your knowledge of color, that's important, but you need to feel it as well. And so that's what I think is important with color. So I'm looking for some really deep, beautiful blues like this. Put this in here. Put some black, again, more black. And let's just feel this color. And let's take a look. Yeah, that's getting pretty close to what I'm looking for. So once you feel you have like a good ballpark, then you can, you know, let me go ahead and get some packing peanuts, and let me find my baby wipes. I know they were here somewhere. Where'd they go? Oh, there they are. Got a little bit of pastel in my hands, and I hate that. Let's see, where did they go? Be right back, guys. Okay, so I got my baby wipes, and I have to lower that camera so you all can see this really nice blue that I'm going to do. I started doing with the regular triangles, but I think I'm going to glaze the color. So I may come in with the foam core and kind of glaze that in. So when I glaze in the beginning, it gives me a lot more wiggle room. So let's see if I can lower this. Ooh, that's too much, right? Okay, let's raise that up. Okay, very cool. All right, so once again, I'm going to get some of these foam cores here, and see how I just peel it. And then I'm going to take said color that I mixed, and let's just start kind of glazing that over. And I'm not trying to match that color perfectly, right? I'm just trying to get a guesstimate and then adjust as I go, just the same way I do with the India ink paintings. So everyone, with my online course, which I did roll out, and there's a link in the description, it will actually teach you step by step how to create an underpainting that's going to allow you to do finished airbrush paintings, but also to have the ability to do these really beautiful underpaintings where you can put pastel over it, you can put acrylic with the airbrush over it, you can oil paint over them. So my black and white technique, basically the whole method, you know, using the Airbrush India ink and the airbrush at low PSI and everything, is really going to go a long way to helping you create these underpaintings for your own work. Just move this over. So, you know, it's really great because my whole technique was born out of making underpaintings for my pastels, and that's exactly where we are now, is that, you know, I started just doing airbrush for this purpose, and then I fell in love with the airbrush, and I took the technique to a new level for myself, and now I teach it in my online course, and I guarantee it's going to take your airbrush painting to the next level, regardless of whether or not you're going to be using it as an underpainting. So even let's say you just work, you know, standard color paintings in airbrush, and you want more control, you want to learn more about the best viscosity, and you want to learn about air, you know, of course the air pressure, viscosity, distance, to get the precision control, to make the airbrush do exactly what you want, then my course is something that, you know, you may be interested in. And all those years of me experimenting and getting this technique down really is coming together. Steve says the course is amazing. Can't wait to start it. The post office is on stick for a lot of days over the next few weeks. Oh man, so yes, so I sent it last week. You definitely should get the course material, Steve, in, I would say, in a couple of days. So I'm very excited when you begin that, sir. So right now it's very green, but I'm just glazing, just doing a foundation, and then I'm going to come in with more blue. So let's say if I just wanted to immediately attack with that blue, let's see how this would work. See how I could find my sweet spot of the color. Oh boy, so let me, this is not staying. Because I'm putting a lot of pressure with this technique. And if you ever see some of the unfinished paintings of the 19th century French academic painters, you'll see that they do very similar to this. I'm doing exactly what an oil painter would do, working in pastels. But it's nice finally addressing her shirt or her dress. Let's get this balanced in there. There we go. A little more pressure in there. So how many people have seen someone paint like me in pastel? I don't think too many. My technique is pretty much very specifically mine and my own techniques, very similar to what I did with airbrush, is the same thing that I do with with the pastel. I definitely go my own way. I like solving problems. At each painting I do is solving a problem, and then the next painting is solving the problem that I had in the previous painting, and so you get like this real kind of linear progression and technical growth. So I'm a signature member, elected signature member of the Pastel Society of America. I'm an elected member of the Allied Artists of America. My pastel paintings have been in the Butler Museum of American Art. My pastel paintings have been in several exhibitions, many exhibitions throughout the United States. So my pastels have been pretty much everywhere. My pastel paintings have been in more places than I have. Okay, so now we have this kind of established, we're going to come darker, but now we have a nice established shirt, right? So now let's go ahead and let's work on this little fleshy area right in here, right? This collar. So we'll just get my baby wipe and get rid of the blue that's on my hands. And plus I hate the feeling of pastel on my hands. Kind of just dries the skin, it's really gross. So I get it off pretty quickly. All right, so right here we have this kind of mid-tone that we were playing around with right in the collar. So right here we have this kind of mid-tone. Right here, and then it comes down. Just like so. Then what's going on here is a reflection of her neck, right? So the white collar is going to be taking on the colors of her neck. So let's make that happen. So remember when we started, we had the light, beautiful light colors right over here. We'll put the light colors there. And then we have, and this is all reflection, just like a mirror. And then we have the beautiful mid-tones, that iron oxide color, remember? See that? And then bring that down. And maybe bring in some of that really nice, strong yellow color. Let's do that. And let's go back to that strong yellow color. So I'm going to take a foam core and I'm just going to cut a new triangle. There is this nice little play of reflection going on. Right here. And since we're here, let's work on this contour. And of course that contour, as you know, is the sternocleidomastoid right over here. And then the sternocleidomastoid comes down, and then you can see a little bit of the trapezius right there. There we go. So now we have something else going on the other side of the collar. So let's first clean that up, right? So that has that real orange kind of really dark iron oxide going on right here. So let me change something I said. I said you don't want to be too scientific. I think in the beginning you want to be as scientific as possible, but then, you know, just keep in mind that, you know, as you grow as a colorist, you want to find the impressionistic elements of your portraits and the color. So you see how I'm working on that collar right now. And then there's this greenish gray, right? This is a green gray. Why it's there? Who knows? I don't know. I'm just feeling it, and that's what I'm going to do. There's two ways. Let's try using this gray right here. See that? I can nail that collar. And then remember I said it was greenish, so I want to get a light green that's kind of going to work with that gray and kind of fall into where I want it to be. So that is probably, I'm going to look for a greenish color that's in the same value range. And it's kind of like an earthy green, right? So let's take a look at this. It's a little dark, a little light, but let's see if it will do the trick. And it really does. And then maybe just a little bit of a yellow, so we can get our original flesh tone and a little more of the yellow ochre. And we can kind of put that there. And that's exactly the color I see now. So you see how, yes, there's a scientific method, and then you just kind of want to feel it too. All right, let's clean this up. Pastel is an incredibly forgiving medium. What time is it? 9:15. Look at that. Keeping this nice and clean. Okay, so right over, so where else? Okay, so we have some shadow thing going on right over here. Right under there, there's a little bit of a shadow. So what I can do is take that really nice gray that I had before, as soon as I find it. Remember, it's under something. So here we go. We have this gray. It looks pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit of green to it. And then I'm going to use one of these triangles, and I'm going to make a new edge. I'm going to make a point, actually. So right under here, we have this edge. You want to hear something peculiar? When I'm painting in pastel, I don't need glasses, but when I'm painting in airbrush, I do. Here we go. I have this color. It's up here. And when you see it there, it's messy, clean it up. It's not like airbrush, we gotta wait for things to dry and all that malarkey. With pastel, something's messy, clean it up right away. Okay, so we have some shadow planes here. Let's go ahead and paint that. And this is a job for the foam core, because we want to glaze this shadow here. So let's make sure we do that. It's funny because I think like this when I'm painting by myself. Now I'm just kind of thinking aloud. So it kind of makes me pretty good at this stuff. Thank God. So right here we have to kind of establish this edge. That's a little too on the dark side. Remember, lighter pressure equals lighter gray. You keep your 1 second rule going. Okay, so basically we took care of some of this area right now. We just kind of established it. Some of this kind of stuff that we've been ignoring. Maybe a little bit here. Oh, thanks. Wendy says she's really looking good. And Brad says he doesn't have very good sound either, Wendy. I've got the volume up pretty maximum. So how many people out there are having low sound issues? So it might be that I'm kind of further away from my microphone. So if I put my microphone closer to me, I think that could solve the problem. Let's see. Oh, sound is great, so that's good. Thank you, guys. And just establishing some stuff here. Okay, so that's where we are right now, which is pretty nice, right? We have some nice things going on. Let me stand up and just move back a bit, see if we can see more of this young lady, and then I'll focus her. Yes, move back further. And then move this back. And then focus this young lady. There we go. I think that's a nice shot. So let's focus her. Okay, so you see we did a lot, made her look a lot more feminine, and we got a lot of good things going on right now, which is good. And so let me zoom in, and this way I can get the proper focus. We'll go this way. And hit that. And let's see what kind of focus we have. Let me lock this so it doesn't keep going. There, that's a nice focus. Okay, so let's zoom out. Okay, so I'm liking that focus very much. And what I want to do is kind of lock it so this doesn't want to move anymore. So definitely, I'm liking the way she's coming out, and I have a lot more details to work on and softening up some edges here and there. But remember, we want to work on a lot of the details, like in her hair and stuff like that. You know, that's something that I want to work on, and also softening those edges in between the values there. It's still kind of a painterly aspect right now, but we're getting there, and that's important. And so it's 9:24. I usually only do these like an hour. So what I'm going to do is just call it a night. Thank you everybody for hanging out, and once again, this technique. Oh, we have Joy. Hi Joy, how you doing? Good to see you. So glad you're here. So I'm pretty much going to stop here, because when we come back next week, I want us to develop the ear. I want to develop the hair. And then once I develop the ear and the hair, then I could kind of work on the background a little bit more. And then, you know, do all the little hairs that are coming down, everything like that. And then really get in there with this edge work. And then once we do that, then we could start coming in with the really soft pastels, Schminke, Sennelier, Winsor & Newton, and really hit those highlights and create real depth. And then at the very end, just work on the edges here, making sure we follow the hard and soft areas that we do see, develop the mouth a little bit more, and maybe some of the beautiful aspects of her eyes. I would say two more sessions, and we should be complete with her. So I'm really happy, and I want to thank everyone for coming and hanging out with me. And Joy, good to see you. I hope to see you next time. And also, Joy, we're here on Wednesday nights at 9:30 Eastern Time to do the Airbrush and India ink. So I hope to see you next week, and thank you for coming by. And everyone, I really appreciate you. Go to inkflingers.com, check out my work and some of the other stuff. And if you have any questions, email me at paintedglyphs@gmail.com. Take care, everybody. You're all amazing. And I'm really honored that you spent the time on a Saturday night.